You know, when we posted the video about narrative wargaming, I thought that might be the end of it. A one-off chat about why linking your games together can turn a few dice rolls into a story. Then we got this brilliant comment on one of our battle reports, and it changed how I thought about doing a part 2. They said they loved the pace, the documentary feel, but they also asked a fantastic question. They'd noticed our alliance between the Planetary Defence Force and the Eldar, and they said, that seems to be a no-go in modern 40k lore, or is it? And that, right there, is the conversation I want to have today. Because how much weight does lore and canon have when it comes to narrative wargaming? You see, when we play, it's our campaign. We're not running a tournament. There's no admin, no scorekeeping, no trophy waiting at the end of the table, and we don't need to answer to any higher authority. What we're doing is telling a story together. Some battles will be unbalanced on purpose. Sometimes we'll give one side an advantage because the story demands it. Sometimes one army is going to get absolutely flattened, and that's fine, because that defeat might be the spark for something bigger later. That's the freedom that comes from not chasing wins or points. You stop worrying about what's fair and start asking, what's interesting? So when the Planetary Defence Force fights alongside the Eldar, it isn't because the rules say they can, it's because the story said they should. Maybe they share a temporary truce against the Chaos incursion. Maybe an Eldar Farseer manipulated a human commander with visions of a doomed future. Maybe it's just desperation, two sides trying to survive the same nightmare. Whatever the reason, it's a decision made for narrative value, not mechanical approval. So now I'm going to talk about the open galaxy we grew up in, because another question in that same comment was, where do we get our ideas from? And here's where it gets personal. You see, we'd already been wargaming, for a good 10 years at least before 40k was ever released. Back then, the universe wasn't sealed up in codexes and timelines. It was wide open. We came from a mix of everything. World War II battles with quite basic rules and certainly no army lists, laser burn, rogue trader, RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, Traveller, Cyberpunk 2020, comics like 2000 AD, and all those classic films that wired themselves into your imagination. THX 1138, Blade Runner, Aliens, Dune, Mad Max, RoboCop, even Battle of the Planets. So much of what we watched was part of a storyline that really, was still being developed. We soaked up all of it. So when someone asks where we draw inspiration from, honestly, it's from everywhere. Every film we've watched, every book we've read, every game we've played, all of it melts together into one big pot of ideas. And that's why it's hard for us to follow someone else's lore, word for word. We've always seen the 40k universe as a toolbox, not a rule book. You take the pieces you like, shape them to fit your story, leave the rest behind. You have to balance freedom over permission, because when you're building a narrative campaign, you don't really need anyone's permission, you need their buy-in. You don't need to worry if something fits official canon. If it works for your world and your players are invested, then it's valid. I think sometimes newer hobbyists are led to believe that Games Workshop lore is gospel, that everything has to line up with the latest codex paragraph. But in the early days, it was all chaos in the best way. You had squats, mercenaries, zotes, pirate fleets, rogue psychers, half of it contradictory because it was still being developed. and all of it brilliant. And that spirit is what we try to preserve. Our games exist alongside official 40k, not inside it. We treat the lore as a launch pad, not a cage. And the best part? When you step outside the boundaries, your games start to feel personal. You stop being a spectator in someone else's story and start being an author of your own. Let's talk about our Gharadon Reach campaign, because that's where all of this is coming together for us at the moment. It started as a simple campaign map, a few battle sites, handful of objectives. But every time we play, it changes. If the Imperium loses a world, that world stays lost until someone retakes it. If chaos captures a relic, it tilts the whole balance. The story lives and breathes with each game. When Kaelus 9 was destroyed by Exterminatus, it wasn't just a dramatic ending, it was the catalyst for our whole epic scale campaign. The survivors had to regroup, alliances shifted, and suddenly, what began as a single battle became a saga. That's why I call the website a live document, because we try and update it after every game. New objectives and forces appear, old ones fall silent. It's a galaxy in motion. If you're running something smaller, like Necromunda or Inquisitor style skirmishes, you can do the same thing. Name your hive, give it districts, rival gangs, rumours of off-world visitors. Let each game rewrite a tiny piece of that city's history. Before long, you've got your own corner of the Reach, your own living setting that grows with every dice roll. The joy is in balancing the story, not the games. People sometimes ask how we balance our campaigns, and the answer is we don't. We balance the story, not the statistics. If a side gets crushed in one battle, we write that into the lore. Maybe reinforcements arrive late next time. Maybe a desperate retreat becomes the seed for a heroic comeback. We design outcomes that make sense narratively, not numerically. And that approach keeps everyone invested. Even when you lose, you still win because you've added a new chapter to the story. And honestly, that's what keeps the hobby alive for us. You can buy rule sets, paint models, download army lists, but experiences are the one thing you can't buy off the shelf. You have to create them. Our viewer mentions that older 40k felt more open and diverse, and I couldn't agree more. That openness is what drew many of us in. Back then, it wasn't about official answers, it was about possibilities, and that debut rulebook actively encouraged it. Could a human commander strike a deal with Eldar Corsairs? Sure. Could a Planetary Defence Force garrison discover alien tech buried under a ruined city and use it to defend their homeland? Why not? Could a Chaos Warlord lead an uneasy truce against something even worse? Absolutely. You see, that sense of what if is what keeps the universe exciting. And even now, with decades of lore written, there's still room between the lines. You just have to claim it. If you're building your own campaign, keep the door open for ideas. Invite your friends to invent subplots. Give your terrain names. Remember who survived, who fell, who went missing in action, and who took out that predator tank with a lucky lasgun shot. soon you'll find your setting writing itself. And if you want to ground your games in our own Gharadon Reach sector, go ahead. It's not a closed world. If you're running a Necromunda gang or a skirmish force, pick a world on the map, call it yours, tell us about it, drop a comment, email us. I'll add it to the description on the website. That's the beauty of narrative play. Your story can become part of a bigger one. So when people ask if our alliances are allowed or if our campaigns are canon, my answer's pretty much always the same. It's our table, our models, our imagination, and our version of the story. Narrative gaming isn't about getting it right, it's about making it yours. It's about crafting something that lives beyond the rulebook, something that means more to you and your players than just another victory point. So, whether your world is an alleyway in a single hive city or an entire sector like Gharadon Reach, let it evolve. Let it surprise you. And most of all, let it belong to you, because the galaxy is big enough for everyone's imagination. And with that, I'll see you on the battlefield.